Lesson 99. Noon. Catherine, I'm trying hard when I pronounce this word to get the upsilon sound right, especially because it has a circumflex accent over it, right?
Right. So that means that it's longer and we need to hold it for longer.
So can I say noon like that? Or maybe that's too long.
No, I think that's perfectly fine. You don't have to always hold it out for that long, but it is important to do the vowel lengths. At least at first, it's okay to exaggerate the length. And this is something that our listeners should have in mind is it's totally fine to exaggerate the length of the vowels, at least at first, so that one understands the difference between the long and short vowels. And as our listeners get more and more familiar with Greek and as they're reading longer sentences and things like that, then they'll end up speeding up. But those good habits of differentiating between the long and short vowels will still carry over. And eventually they'll get to the point where they don't even realize they're doing it.
And as I always say, and I'm sure you do too, Catherine, because you're a teacher yourself, I always say, learn to do these things from the very beginning, and it will save you time later.
Yep.
If you go ahead and apply correct vowel lengths to vowels now, it'll pay big dividends later.
Yes.
It's like an investment where you invest your money and get 1,000% back on your money.
Yeah.
You would say that in a situation like that, you'd say that you're getting a huge return on your investment. It's like that with Greek grammar. If you go ahead and start doing these things now while you're a beginner, it will pay huge dividends. You'll get a huge return on your investment later. So it's a little bit more work now, but you get enormous benefits later in the sense of increased understanding, more efficient study, and not having to relearn things and redo things later.
Absolutely. It's kind of the linguistic equivalent of measure twice, cut once.
Another idea that just came to mind is that with certain feminine nouns, which they'll learn in the future, if the final vowel is long or short, that can make a big difference as far as where the accent goes in that word.
Oh, yes.
So there are lots and lots of reasons, good reasons, to pay attention to vowel length, which our readers may not fully appreciate now, but if they take our fabulous advice, it'll pay off big dividends in the future. They'll get a huge, as I say, a huge return on their investment. One last thing before we go, Catherine. The word noon is an adverb, and this particular adverb has to do with time. It's telling us a time frame in which the action is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can be beneficial for us as we decide how to translate verbs. Sometimes when our readers are translating a verb, they want to figure out if they need to use the present progressive or a simple present. But with a descriptive adverb like noon that refers to timing or time, that can really add some nice context and help guide the translator toward a good translation.
Absolutely. And noon often will require a present progressive translation because, as we mentioned in earlier lessons, if we say the teachers write now, it sounds odd. But if we say the teachers are writing now, it sounds perfectly normal.
Right. So our example sentence demonstrates that. Okay. So in this example, hoi didaskaloi noon graphusin. In this particular example, noon means now, and it's suggesting to us that we ought to use the present progressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we translate, that's what you just said a moment ago, we're translating graphusin as the teachers are writing. Just for fun, let's change out that adverb. Let's pretend like it doesn't say noon. Let's pretend like it says upote, which means never. Pretend for a moment that it says upote. Now, tell me how that might affect your translation.
Well, that would change it very significantly because upote is not looking at something that's happening right now because it's not a time-bound adverb. Noon is a time adverb, and so it says something is happening, well, in time, now. And so it tends to want the present progressive. However, upote is not time bound. It's something that doesn't happen at any time. And so in that case, it's looking outside of time almost. So then we need a simple present. The teachers never write sounds much better than the teachers are never writing, because are writing is a very time-focused construction, whereas write is more zoomed out perspective. And so upote goes with simple present.
So the idea of the present progressive, when you say they are writing, that sounds like something going on now.
Mm-hmm.
So it matches naturally with the idea of noon, with something going on now. But if you say someone never does something, that has a sort of a general, broad sense to it. So that matches well with the simple present, which doesn't refer to any particular time. So these adverbs can really provide some nice context for translating these verbs.